Hey everybody, and welcome to a new episode of TLDR here on the Heart of Geek YouTube channel. This week we're going to be talking about a movie that I watched when I was a kid, that I fell in love with when I was like 6, and surprisingly still holds up even though it's a really weird 80s movie, and that movie is The Last Dragon. Why does it hold up, at least to me? There are several reasons which I'm going to go into right now. First, it's very reverent to Asian culture in a weird way that seems now probably a little bit stereotypical to some people because of what some people would call cultural appropriation, but I think works in this movie because the two people that are mainly doing the appropriating are actually really reverent to that culture, and that is the two characters of Bruce Leroy, who is super reverent to Chinese culture, specifically through the lens of like kung fu films and Bruce Lee especially. And then there's Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, who's reverent to Japanese culture in a weird way that they don't really go into as much as they do with Bruce Leroy, but I think it's really cool. And not only that, but the fact that Bruce Leroy and Shonuff are African Americans that are reverent to Asian culture, and then at some point in the movie there are Asian characters who are reverent to African American culture, specifically hip hop. And I think that's really cool, being able to flip those on their heads and just have them be reverent to it, but not like crazy stereotypical, even though it could have gone that way. And some people think it might be that way, but yeah, I like that. There's a lot of really good action in this movie, and I like the fact that one of Bruce Leroy's students, who is an Asian character, isn't that great at martial arts. It's like, oh hey, you remember that stereotype that every single Asian character just somehow knows martial arts? Well, Johnny in this movie isn't very good. And I mean, he tries. Sometimes it seems like he's like not really trying all that much, but when it comes to the final fight, he's actually holding his own with a lot of Bruce Leroy's students. And that's where I'm going to get to my second point. What I think is really cool about this is that it's one hero's journey, specifically Bruce Leroy's, but it highlights other characters in a way that like just brings it in as part of Leroy's. Like his little brother, who thinks he's irritating and doesn't understand why he gives a crap about all this, and why he's so weird, and why he can't just be like everybody else. And by the end of the movie, he understands. Like there's growth there, and there's growth within Bruce Leroy, and there's growth within a few other characters too, like Johnny. He like seems like a bit of a slacker, doesn't really like give his all into it, and then by the end he's realizing like the whole thing with martial arts and everything that goes along with that. Another thing that I'm going to talk about, Ernie Reyes Jr. Before Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze, before Surf Ninjas, I love that movie, I don't care what you say about it, before The Rundown, and before the Uncharted fan movie, he was in this. He was like 6 years old probably, which was at the same age I was at the time, and he was kicking people's butts, and it was awesome. Like, it doesn't hurt that his dad is Ernie Reyes Sr., and he's been like a stunt guy for decades. That guy's cool too, but seriously, seeing a kid that young do choreography that advanced and being able to kick the butts of people like twice his height and 3 times his age at least, I know it's a movie, but it's still like, when you're a kid like me, when I was watching that movie, I was like, ooh, I can do that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of thing that got me into Taekwondo, because that was like the only martial arts type of stuff that I could learn where I lived at the time. And I mean, seriously, Last Dragon is a great movie. Yes, it's a totally 80s movie, and it's got totally 80s sound. It's got totally 80s cinematography and totally 80s just the vibe of it. But seriously, if you can get past that, this movie is fantastic. Yeah. And like Bruce Leroy as a character, his growth and his journey, going from a guy who has a master who has basically said, I've taught you everything I can teach you, the rest of it is all on you, and realizing that to get to the next level was already something he had the ability to do. Fantastic. Being able to take the teachings of his master and carry that to a new generation of kids, a very diverse group of kids too, because it was like white kids, Asian kids, black kids. They were all through there, and they were all at different levels of skill, but they were all trying, and they all come in to help save his butt near the end of the movie. That's awesome. And there's stuff that they talk about at the beginning of the movie, like the glow, that you're like, oh, he's gonna be able to do that. And then by the time he does, it's like a super cool payoff because the bad guy does it before he does. What? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm spoiling this whole movie. I'm sorry. If you haven't seen it, you really should. It's pretty great. And if I'm spoiling the movie for you, it shouldn't do all that much because it's just great. You're gonna know some things from this, but that doesn't really matter. But on top of all the stuff I've already said, one of my main things that I really like about this movie is that there is stuff that I didn't notice when I was a kid that when I got older, I was like, oh, hey. Because it starts out where it's like, oh, there's this guy, Bruce Leroy, and there's the Shogun of Harlem who basically is like the only thing standing in my way from being a true master of martial arts is this guy. And so he goes after him and tries to like basically ruin his life and get him to fight him. And like Leroy's like, no, like it doesn't, there's nothing I can get out of fighting you at all. And then as the story progresses, the main thing that ends up being able to make the Shogun of Harlem fight Bruce Leroy is a guy in the background, super rich white dude who gives him a bunch of money and basically says, hey, take that dude out because I don't like him. And just the whole subtext of like, I know this comes weird from a white guy, but the subtext of if black people stopped fighting each other, they would see who the real villain is kind of crazy. But like, I mean, this was 1985, like, and it's really prescient with the stuff that's going on now. Like, get over yourselves and fight the true bad guy type situation. But yeah, like that is really cool. And just, it's presented in a way that's kind of weird, and it has super neon through a lot of it, and it's got vanity in it, which is cool. It's got William H. Macy in it as like a hair and makeup dude, and I like, it was one of those things where as a kid I didn't know who William H. Macy was, but as I got older I was like, hey, that's the guy from The Thing. And yeah, and that was either one of his first ones or his very first one, I don't know, but it's kind of funny to see him in that role. But yeah, if I haven't sold you on this movie yet, I don't know what's gonna sell you on this movie. It's really fun, it's really weird. It, like, me and my friends tried to do a riff tracks on it at some point in the past, but we were having too much fun riffing on it that we just kept making jokes and jokes and jokes and talking through the entire movie, and it was hard to focus on the movie. But seriously, you're either gonna watch this movie and appreciate it as a fan of like martial arts movies, or you're gonna watch it and just tear it apart laughing at it. And either way is a valid form of expressing your opinion on it. But yeah, have you guys seen The Last Dragon? Tell me in the comments whether you liked it or you hated it. Is it one of your favorites, or is it just at the bottom of the barrel? Let me know. But if you want to hear more of my opinions on these really old movies and TV shows and books and all this kind of stuff, stay tuned here for more TLDR. Hit subscribe to get to stay in the loop, but hit that bell if you want to get notified every time I come up with one of these videos. It's gonna be every Tuesday for me, but I got my brothers and my best friend doing other videos, and they have theirs scheduled out at different times of the week. So hey, yeah, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to, if you have kids, subscribe to the Heart of Geek Kids Edition. Go to our website, theheartofgeek.com, to see all of these videos. We got some podcasts we're doing. You can go to our Twitch stream at twitch.tv/theheartofgeek, I think. And we're going to be doing, every Saturday night, we're going to be doing a D&D live stream that's going to be at like 10 or 11 at night. EST. It's different things, time zones. They're weird. But yeah, I hope to see you again here on The Heart of Geek. But if I don't, have a great day, a great week, a great month, and a great year. Bye-bye!